What brings you?
Reverend, I want you.
I'm sorry?
I need you. I have this feeling.
Oh, well, meet me at the Church Repressional.
No, I want to be with you. I want your mind, your body.
Oh,
I want to
boy.
get...
Welcome back, everyone. This is One Piece chapter 1097, Ginny, a title which I imagine only implies good things and that nothing bad is about to go down. This is a lot shorter of a chapter this week. I think it's only like 13 pages. I hope Oda is doing alright. Fucker really didn't take that long of a break after his eye surgery, so I hope he could take a nice break again here soon. The man deserves it. I mean, I can wait. Lord knows I need to catch up on these chapter reviews still. We have another cover request this week, and holy moly, Oda, please calm down for a second. We're not even in the damn chapter yet. Never mind. I take it back. I'm sorry. And we see Kuma catching fish in the river, I guess, though I'm not sure why he's doing it the way he is. I mean, he's using his devil fruit, but we don't see where he's sending the fish. Like, for all we know, he's just sending the motherfuckers way off the island entirely. Like, where are they going?
I'm here at Barry Island Beach, and there's no sign of...
This chapter takes place a whole 30 years prior to the current storyline, and a whole 8 years after the God Valley incident. We see Kuma has become a pastor at the church that his parents used to run. Go figure, the guy who carries around a Bible everywhere he goes used to be a pastor. All the people here also refer to him as Kumachi, which I can only assume is because that's what Ginny calls him all the time, so they just sort of assumed that that's what he goes by now. And Kuma, being the goodest boy that he is, every week has all these old folks come into his church, and he rids them of all of their ailments using his paw fruit abilities. I mean, if the Jesus comparisons weren't blatant enough, here he is performing miracle cures on the weekly. And as the old folks start asking Kuma if he can perform these miracle healing sessions, I guess, more often, Ginny appears and snaps at them, calling them greedy freeloaders and whatnot, but the old people don't really seem perturbed by this. Honestly, they're just kind of goading her on and laughing at her. So this probably is just a weekly conversation at this point. And I want to ask, is fucking booty shorts the only pants that Ginny owns? I mean, not that I'm complaining, but seriously, I think all the way up until like the last page of the chapter, we see her change wardrobe a bunch of times and she is always wearing booty shorts. And man, as if Kuma didn't have enough on his shoulders already, here he's got Ginny strutting her stuff all the time, which I'm sure is almost 100% on purpose. The woman is down bad. And I mean, who wouldn't be for thick, bare Jesus? Also, this is probably like a stupid little side tangent, but the second I saw adult Ginny's appearance, I immediately thought that at least the silhouette of her hair looked like Vegapunk Lilith, though that could also just be a big nothing burger, I don't know. Then the old folks start complaining about the new king of Sorbet Kingdom, this trashy looking royal dude who probably smells as good as he looks, named Bekori. Which, fun little tidbit, I believe is a little wordplay on the Japanese onomatopoeia pekori, which can be used as the sound for bowing your head quickly, which lines up perfectly with this spineless dog's behavior. This dude is a textbook heartless monster. He only cares about paying the Celestial Dragon tribute no matter what the cost, which, to be fair, is nothing foreign to the world of One Piece at this point. But Kuma tells all the old folks that they can always come back to him every week and he can cure all their ailments for them, before sending them off on their merry way. It's then that Kuma approaches the giant paw bubble of all the old folks' pain, suffering, maybe a bit of that old people smell if Kuma can get rid of that too. And Kuma fucking nothing happens that shit like a champ. Meaning, he does this every week. Zoro, where you at, buddy? I feel like this finally sort of fully puts into perspective just why Kuma was impressed with Zoro after taking on Luffy's pain at Thriller Bark. Even though I don't think it is anywhere close to what Kuma is taking on the weekly here. I mean, arthritis? Kidney disease? Osteoporosis? Fucking cancer, probably? Luffy, Zoro, you are some bad motherfuckers, but we can start talking when you are shouldering an entire old folks' home worth of pain and suffering. But I mean, seriously, think about it for a second. Zoro took in all that damage, and he's just a normal human, samurai lineage aside, I guess. But Kuma is a buccaneer who are apparently known for being very resilient and tough, so it's no wonder Kuma saw Zoro do that and he was like, alright buddy, I see you. And as Kuma takes in all the pain in the pain bubble, we just see a shit ton of energy exploding from the church and Kuma screaming bloody murder and Ginny crying in the other room. It's fucking brutal, man. And for the paneling, it seems like Kuma was going at this for like a good while, at least like a few minutes, probably longer, I don't know. Then Ginny puts Kuma in a bed and starts tending to his injuries, and this is the first time we see them right next to each other and get a real size comparison, and man, I almost hope that Ginny is not Bonnie's mom, because goddamn, I feel like putting the baby in there would hurt 10 times more than it coming out. Just look at the size difference, holy hell. For her sake and her sake alone, I hope that Kuma is not that well endowed, at least in comparison to his overall mess. Kuma explains he has to take on all the pain every week because if he just leaves the big bubble unattended, it'll all eventually go back to the original people and won't disappear at all. Kuma says as long as he can make people feel better, he's happy, but he apologizes to Ginny for putting her through all this and promises he'll get tougher so she doesn't have to deal with this, and man, they are just the cutest. Kuma mentioned that all the old folks brought them food as a thanks, which completely switches Ginny's mood around. And we see a wholesome scene of them enjoying dinner together with smiles on their faces, and that's the end. That's the end of One Piece, ladies and gentlemen, because I refuse to read on and let Oda destroy me with the inevitable tragedy that will no doubt unfold in this flashback. We move ahead 5 more years with Kuma now being 22, and the two of them are still living at the same old church, when Ginny out of nowhere pops the question and asks Kuma to marry her. Kuma then remembers his father's words while the celestial dragons were abducting him and his family, trying to convince them that Kuma and his mother had no relation to the Buccaneer blood, but they were enslaved regardless. So that explains why Kuma is so against marrying Ginny. And I guess he just probably doesn't mention it because he knows Ginny probably wouldn't give a shit about that and want to marry him regardless. And he just doesn't want to fight that losing battle. Women. But Kuma, smart man as he is, completely changes the subject since he's reading about Dragon and the freedom fighters in the newspaper. Also, small little note, I just love how small the newspaper looks in Kuma's hands. But he talks about how much he admires Dragon and his actions, and talks about how one day he would like to dedicate his life to saving others as well. Then this fishmonger and his friend come in, who are actually these 2 kids from the last chapter, who everyone and their mothers besides myself pointed out that they go on to be members of Bonnie's crew. Assumingly is like a babysitting gig given to them by Kuma, or something like that. And Kuma happily accepts the fish in order to avoid discussing things with Ginny further, which prompts her to comically chuck a bucket at his head. After this, we start getting to the thick of it as we cut to 22 years prior to the main story, which also happens to be the same year that Ohara got game ended. It seems as though the fucking stinky King Bakori has divided the Sorbet Kingdom in 2 in order to lessen the celestial tribute since it's determined by a kingdom's population, claiming that the southern half of the island where Kuma and all the old folks live is now a lawless land where the royal army can wreak whatever havoc they desire, which, as you can imagine, does not fly with Kuma. And without second thought, Kuma just unloads an Ursa's shock on the royal guards, or something equivalent, I suppose. He doesn't say Ursa's shock, and he starts throwing hands with the dudes, which doesn't end up going that well for him because we end up seeing Kuma bloodied, beaten, and behind bars. And we also see that Ginny and Kuma's other friends are also locked up because they tried to free him after he was captured. We then see Kuma absolutely fuming about King Bakori and the Celestial Dragon's treatment of the people on the island, saying how he doesn't want to see the country end up a hellhole of bigotry and violence. And then comes in the main fellows, Dragon Ivankov and the Revolutionary Army. Well, actually, in this moment, I think they're still the freedom fighters, but regardless, they show up, one-tap King Bakori, and frees Sorbet Kingdom from its corrupted rule from the Celestial Dragons. Then they bust into Kuma and Ginny's cell in order to recruit the 2 of them, and it's here that Dragon, Kuma, and Ivankov form the Revolutionary Army. And then the first thing we see Dragon do is complain about how broke he is, saying that for now the Revs would sort of have to start as a small flame, helping people who already have a desire to overthrow their corrupt rulers and grow their reach among the globe as much as possible, among us. And now I could finally start to see how Luffy and Dragon are related. Because if you think about it, this is kind of just what Luffy does on the daily. It's just in order to get him to do it, you need to give him like a chicken wing first or something. Dragon also confirms here that he was in fact a part of the Marines at one point, and I wonder what this implies in terms of his relationship with Sakazuki. Like, what if they were buddy cops back in the day? Like a young Kobe and Hamepo, but I don't know, probably less fun to be around. But that could make sense as to why Sakazuki hates him so much. Maybe they had a camaraderie and Sakazuki felt as though Dragon betrayed when he left. But Dragon says he defected from the Marines since he couldn't find any justice there, which just makes me want to see an interaction between him and Garp in the main storyline even more. I just want to see what they would discuss with each other. I'm almost more interested in seeing that than seeing Dragon and Luffy meeting. Kuma then pledges his loyalty to Dragon, saying he can always rely on him, to which Dragon responds that he will not regret joining him, which, I don't know, we'll see about that in the next couple chapters, man. The narrator goes on to say that 8 years pass from here, and we briefly see Kuma traveling back to the Sorbet Kingdom to visit his home. Which, just a little crackpot theory here, but what if he's visiting a baby Bonnie, who's posted out here on Sorbet with the people Kuma's closest and most comfortable with in order to keep her as far away from the Celestial Dragons as possible? I don't know, man. I don't have any substantial evidence to back that up, I just like the idea. We then see Ginny on some random island somewhere, decked out in a revolutionary uniform. She's got goggles, a harness, fucking sick pants. I need to get some of those. She's also got a bone hanging out of her mouth, and it's here that I kind of want to stop and quickly address the Ginny is Luffy's mom allegations. Look, I like the idea, and I'm not going to be upset if that is what ends up happening in the story, but with just how in love Ginny seems with Kuma, I just can't see any reason as to why she would end up hooking up with Dragon at all. I mean, it wouldn't be completely unrealistic, I suppose, but I just don't know if that's the direction Oda is trying to go with this. Ginny's revolutionary comrades comment that she looks particularly happy, to which she responds that she is indeed ecstatic since soon they are planning to meet up with Kuma's squad, and she can hardly wait, she's so excited. And it's here that Oda brings down the swift hand of the tragic flashback as he smacks us across the cheeks, because a silhouette appears behind Ginny and her group, and then we cut to Dragon at Baltigo, who is receiving a message that Ginny has been captured. Interestingly, we don't get any implications as to who or what faction abducted Ginny, though if I were to take a guess, I would assume that it's the world government and they're doing this in order to get at Kuma. And this is going to end up to him taking that cyborg lobotomy plea deal or whatever. And on that shocking sudden note, this chapter comes to an end, and shit, I am not ready to go forward with this flashback. I honestly hope this ends soon, because I just don't know how much emotional damage I'm going to be able to take from this. Things are not looking hopeful in the slightest. So what did you think of the chapter? Be sure to let me know down below. Honestly, I think this was a good 7 out of 10 for me. This did feel more like a build-up chapter than anything else, though we did get some really good relationship development between Kuma and Ginny, assumingly just so it hurts that much more when Oda stabs us in the heart in the next few chapters. But enough of my ramblings. Be sure to like and subscribe if you would like to see my mental health decline over the course of this tragic backstory. I'll see you all again soon, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye. We see Chuma. Huh? Chuma? Chuma balls, maybe.